Welcome in to Rover Sports. It has been a crazy, exhilarating day in the NFL. I'm here with Bruce the Sports Doc, and we are here now to break it down. I will also be doing later on personal, specific videos. And it is a pleasure to be with the listeners and get a chance to interact with them on this Sunday evening. What a day in the NFL.
Welcome into Rover Sports. I'm Bruce the Sports Doc with Spencer G. We're doing a Sunday wrap-up show today. Leading off with what looks like a devastating injury to Jimmy Garoppolo. Looks like an ACL. Everybody, all signs are pointing that way, and that's going to be devastating. Obviously, he has a $120 million contract. The 49ers' whole franchise is built around this guy. And watching a replay, non-contact injury, your thoughts?
It's brutal. This is a guy who spent his whole offseason and life preparing for the season. And, the 49ers were my pick to win the Super Bowl. And Jimmy Garoppolo is one of my favorite players. He's allowed me to have a platform to speak and have a channel. And it's devastating. He's one of my favorite players and athletes. And you look at the 49ers now, and their season is pretty much over. Their defense sucked today. And the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo played really well in the second half today. He was starting to gain momentum. He's the guy that made the 49ers relevant last year. And now the 49ers are dead. I mean, they gave this guy so much money. They hired in Richard Sherman because Richard Sherman's a guy in the secondary that they had faith in. They kept Reuben Foster and missed everything. And the 49ers had expectations. You look at the NFC West, that division is very gettable. The Seahawks are bad this year. The Cardinals are not very good this year.
They're terrible, actually.
Yeah. So the 49ers were poised to, in this NFC climate, with the Vikings losing today, the 49ers were poised to make a playoff run today, and that all comes crashing down in a second, and now you look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Some guys, when they get hurt like this, they can never react in the same way.
Rest in peace to my 49ers. Apropos, very sad. They were sad. It shows you what an important piece a quarterback is. Last year was an aberration. Carson Wentz went down. Not many teams have a Nick Foles waiting in the background. And the question is, will the Niners look to a Nick Foles? Will they look to a Teddy Bridgewater? Will they look to an RG3 to reunite with their coach? What is going to happen in San Francisco? Your thoughts?
I think Robert Griffin is going to be traded to the 49ers because Robert Griffin was with Kyle Shanahan in 2013 when he was with the Redskins. So I look for Griffin to get a call. I look for the Saints and Teddy Bridgewater to get a call. Those are the top two guys that I would look for to salvage the season. Maybe Bryce Petty. Maybe Christian Hackenberg. Not Christian Hackenberg. He's terrible.
I'm not Christian Hackenberg.
He's freaking terrible.
He's terrible.
Davis Webb, maybe. So I think Webb could get a chance, but I think Webb is probably fifth down on their list, and that'll be very exciting, but we'll see. I think Teddy or Robert's the guy there. And if they get one of those guys, the best the Niners can do now, I don't know if they can beat the Rams now. So with Jimmy Garoppolo, they were clearly capable of being a Super Bowl team. And their defense was awful. And the 49ers, they were losing 35-7. Garoppolo brought them back to within 14 points. They went on, I believe, a 17-0 run in the third quarter today with Jimmy Garoppolo in the game. So now you look at the 49ers, and with Jimmy, he made that whole team go. I mean, that team has Matt Breida as their running back. They have Marquise Goodwin, who's an okay receiver. They have Garcon, Dante Pettis, and George Kittle. These receivers are C-minus people. But when you have an elite-level quarterback, you suddenly can get these guys to play out of their skulls. And you saw how terrible the 49ers were when Jimmy was not there last year. And frankly, their defensive coordinator's off to a terrible start this year. So I am really worried about 49er football right now.
I share your worries.
And
Let's go around the league a little bit.
yeah, we'll talk about some brighter, more
We want to
encouraging
thank.
topics.
We have 30 viewers on our YouTube. Let's do a little station alert. We are Rover Sports. We are obviously a lot on YouTube, Periscope. We also have a platform here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania called Rover Sports. We're at 6 to 10 a.m. The only AM sports, the original AM sports, and we're there Wednesday night. So if you guys like what you see, you can listen to us if you're anywhere on the East Coast. Otherwise, very simple. There's a TuneIn radio app. And again, I'm Bruce the Sports Doc. I cover a lot of sports-related injuries. Today, Garoppolo most likely ruptured his ACL, which means he lost his stability in his knee on the left side. So he had a positive drawer sign. That is, when you pull the knee towards you as a doctor, there is no support, no stability, and that is a surgical knee. So we are hoping upon hope that this is only a partial tear, possibly an LCL, maybe a bed strain. We'll know for sure because Garoppolo is going to have his MRI in the morning, and that'll be reported out to everybody. So looking, as I said, I attended a game for Rover Sports in Philadelphia. It was a rainy game, and it was a murky game. It was an ugly game, kind of a boring game. And the Eagles squeaked out a 4-point win against the Indianapolis Colts on the strength of a goal line stand. On the 10-yard line, with a minute and a half left, their defense held. Andrew Luck went 0 for 4. And ultimately, the Eagles ended up winning, I think of not a must-win game, but a pretty important game to go 2-1 in the division, to tie the Washington Redskins. And also in the NFC East, we have Spencer G., who has been a beat reporter and covered the New York Giants. And the New York Giants, what I think was a slightly improbable win over the Houston Texans. Give us the rundown, please.
Giants today survived, got up 20-3, and today Eli Manning had a lot of short passes. Chad Wheeler was in. Eric Flowers is gone, which is amazing. It feels so good to get Eric out of here. And
you say it's good. What do you mean by that?
It's good not seeing him play because he can't block.
Why is he gone? Did they cut him?
He was replaced. He was not in the game today. So he is so far down the depth chart. I don't want to see Eric Flowers again. I don't care if Wheeler gives up 20 sacks to whoever the Giants continue to play. It's nice. The running game was very, very good. And yeah, I know Wheeler wasn't great, but he's better than Eric. And the fact is that the New York Giants today won a football game. And defensively, the Giants came up with very timely plays late in this game. Deshaun Watson underthrew a ball that Alec Ogletree intercepted late in the third quarter. The New York Giants got a strip play by Kerry Wynn, who is really the heart and soul of this Giants team. And frankly, the Giants offense in the first half was not completely horrible. Eli Manning had all these 5-yard throws. He had all these 8-yard throws. The Texans couldn't cover Shepard, so the Giants would run these crossers. Sterling Shepard would get the football. He would run for about 40 yards. And overall, the Giants squeaked out a win. The Texans had a lot of turnovers in the game. Giants played a really bad second half. They were begging the Texans to stay in the game, begging the Texans to come back. Giants are not a very good football team right now, but they won. And they have a chance to go home, and now MetLife Stadium will be a little bit of a crowd for the Saints game. And maybe the Giants can continue to improve. Eli Manning, in his last year with the New York Giants, did not look terrible. And he actually played a solid game, no turnovers today. And Saquon Barkley made some plays for the Giants. This Giants team does not look very good at all. But our expectations here, getting a win, it's just amazing to see your football team get a win. It just is. It's a really special feeling.
Staying in the NFC East, we just saw a Cowboys.
It's an amazing feeling.
We just saw a Cowboys team lose to the Seattle Seahawks by 12 points. We saw Dick Prescott. Something
Richard
like that.
Prescott.
Richard Dick Prescott himself, otherwise known as Dak. That's his nickname.
Dick Prescott.
Dick Trickle, otherwise known as him. He had another game. That's only 1 out of 5 games. Not, and of course, today is not one of them. Throwing for under 200 yards. Jason Garrett looking like a wooden puppet at the podium at the end of the game. Had no answers at all. We have a lot of Cowboys fans out there. You're pulling your hair out. This looks like a tale of last year. We thought last year was all due to the absence of Zeke. Zeke's back, and the team still stinks.
His team freaking sucks. Dak Prescott is trash. Jason Garrett is so bad. I want Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is rich. He can do whatever he wants. He can get with whatever woman he wants other than his hot wife who's already really hot. But Jerry Jones, first of all, Jerry Jones needs to
Here's a
fire
quote from Jerry.
Jason freaking Garrett. You can't lose to the Seahawks. The Bears beat the Seahawks. The Seahawks offensive line is terrible. Earl Thomas, I don't even know if he was at the game. Pete Carroll's thinking about going back to college. You lost to a team that barely has a franchise anymore after the interception, after everything. I can't believe Seattle won a football game today. That is shocking to me. And the Cowboys are frauds. And it's just annoying to see the same thing every year, actually, because as a Giants fan, I really don't like the Eagles, but the Dallas Cowboys are just a joke, and you're ready to see the Eagles have some competition. Being an NFC East guy who covers the NFC East, having Dallas and the Eagles actually have a rivalry would be good, but Dallas is just terrible. And at this point, I'm a little bit upset with the Dallas Cowboys. They're just such an incompetent franchise. And even though I'm a Giants fan, they are just putrid, and they keep doing the same things every single year. I mean, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, why waste your money going to see this horrible product? To see Dak Prescott, who had one good year. Other than that, Dak Prescott is RG3 without the injuries. He's a 4th-round pick, and he's a 4th-round pick for a dang reason.
That's right. Well, we've got a lot of pushback from the Cowboys fans. That's what we like. We like controversy here.
What, the Cowboys are still holding out hope?
Somebody said nope.
Maybe the Dallas Cowboys fans are just like Jerry Jones. But if I was Dallas, I'd want to expect more, have more expectations.
That had to be a boring game.
Losing to Seattle sucks.
9-6 Tennessee. That had to be a boring game. Anybody watch that? I mean, I'm not even watching the replay.
That was a huge win for Tennessee. To beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville was considered a Super Bowl contender. Tennessee is now, I believe, 4-0 against the Jacksonville Jaguars dating back to last year. The Tennessee Titans are here to stay. Marcus Mariota, my AFC South champion, is back.
Here's a question. Who's the worst team in the league? And I'll give you a strong vote for the Arizona Cardinals. They had a 14-0 lead over the Chicago Bears. 14-0 lead, and they ended up losing. And that team, Steve Wilkes, brought in the chosen one. But what did he do on the first play? Interception. So the fact is, even Rosen didn't deliver.
Josh Allen.
Josh Rosen, Team Josh Allen, certainly was great. Great highlight of Josh Allen reaching the ball over the pylon. We saw that a million times today.
But what was the story?
But what was the story of the
Buffalo
Bills
defense? Pass rush is amazing. Jerry Hughes, Lorenzo Alexander, Adolphus Washington from the University of Ohio State. And the fact is that Jerry Hughes was a monster. That Bills pass rush looked like the greatest defense ever assembled. Buffalo was an 18-point dog. They came out on top, and they smashed the Minnesota Vikings at a place where Minnesota hasn't lost in like 2 years. That's why the NFL is the craziest beast of all. We see the Patriots completely lose to a hapless Lions team. But we see the Bills. The Bills were headed towards one of the worst seasons in the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings were headed to being a Super Bowl contender. It was a Super Bowl contender against one of the worst teams in the history of the NFL, and one of those worst teams in the history of the NFL, a team that had a player quit on them at halftime last week. They smashed the Minnesota Vikings. There is no sport that can provide this type of unpredictable nature like the NFL. That game was stunning on every account. Kirk Cousins got absolutely murdered in cold blood on that football field today. The Buffalo Bills defense, the greatest defensive performance of the 2018 season across the whole NFL. It was bizarre in every sense of the word.
Totally agree. That's the thing with the NFL. so many of our fans, so many of our loyal listeners and watchers of Rover Sports had that game. They had the Vikings beating the Bills at home. It was a deadlock. They were looking ahead to next week. But all those people, those suicide pools, they won. About 50% of them went down in flames. Nobody predicted that.
I was killed off
Were
today.
you killed off today as well?
Yeah. I had the Vikings.
Looking around again.
Where could you have been safe today in the NFL? Where could a reasonable adult be safe? Maybe the LA Rams, but I used up the Rams. But if you're in a suicide league, they were dropping like flies.
Obviously, if you watch the Eagles game, and I was there in attendance for a murky, rainy, cold Lincoln Financial Field, that game went down to the last minute. Certainly was not a lock. I wouldn't have taken them in the suicide pool, but yeah, they would have eked it out. Who would have taken Washington in that game? If you took that game, you would have lost as well.
Right.
You know,
what's
so
wrong
just
with
a
the
lot
Packers? Here's the thing. I'm going to mention some teams, and you tell me if they're playoff worthy. Detroit Lions.
I think they're wild card worthy. I think, believe it or not, Detroit Lions are on the upswing. By the Lions, I think they are in the running as a contender for the wild card. And look at their division. Packers don't look right. They're 1-0-1. Look at the Vikings, 1-0-1. That division is wide open.
1-1-1.
1-1-1, excuse me.
All of them are.
They're all 1-1-1. Whoever heard of those things? So the fact is, on the basis that they are on the upswing, they had a good victory today. I think they're well coached. Matt Stafford, I think, is probably between 10 and 15. We debated this earlier. Is he a top 10 quarterback? I say no. He's between 10 and 15. He's lost a lot of games. He's lost too many games to be a top 10 quarterback. But Matthew Stafford, and looking at Kerryon Johnson, was the first runner in 4 years for the Detroit Lions to run for over 100 yards tonight. And also LeGarrette Blount, who's the third guy on their team? The quick kind of
Riddick?
Yeah, Theo Riddick coming out of the backfield. That team looks like they're on the uptick. So yes, the question is, are they a playoff contender? I say yes.
So the
NFC
North, I don't trust the Bears. The Bears have looked bad in their victories, but the Bears have still been winning, so I don't know. The Bears are the leaders in that division at 2-1. I think the Vikings are still the best team in that division. I think the Packers somehow the Packers are just still a terrible, terrible team, even though they've tried to upgrade their secondary. And maybe it's just coaching. But I look at the best teams in the NFC North. I'm still going to go with the Vikings to win that division. And right now, who's the second best team in that division? Because right now I'm compelled to say that the Detroit Lions are the second best team in that division. Now it's one game, but they have the best win out of anybody in that division, beating the Patriots at home. So, I mean, we get this question every year. It's almost pointless to ask. But do you think that there's going to be a time and place where the Patriots are going to miss the playoffs? And do you think there will be a time and place where the Miami Dolphins will actually win the AFC East? Or do you think the Patriots could somehow be in trouble in their division this year and not possibly win the AFC?
I think not. Looking at the Patriots, we saw how they played last year against Kansas City. They got blown out. You know, I'm not sure whether they just purposely start off cold and they warm up. There's probably only so much energy, but I'm just not worried about the Patriots. They know that all they have to do is put a kick on near the end of the season. They make the playoffs and they go on a run. Josh Gordon is a guy who was missed tonight. They're really thin wide receiver, and you saw Brady's frustration. So many coverage sacks tonight. He just had nobody to throw to, and it was just. And you looked at him; it wasn't his fault. And he had protection, but these were all coverage sacks. So many of them tonight. So I don't think the Patriots are as bad as they look. Detroit's not as good as they look tonight, but I believe Detroit is a playoff contender.
Let's get to Troy Johnson, one of my favorite guys on here. He congratulations to Troy on a big Ravens victory. Joe Flacco looked really, really good. Case Keenum on the road played like complete dog crap. He turned back. The pumpkin turned whatever that Cinderella analogy that I'm trying to freaking find.
Yep.
The
Cinderella
apple cart
turned back into a pumpkin,
and
yep.
that's what Case Keenum is
Look
on
at
the
this.
road.
Look
He
at Wentz.
sucked.
Look at
He
Wentz.
sucked. He was terrible. The Raiders looked a lot better today. The Ravens looked really, really good today, and Joe Flacco is looking impressive.
Nobody would have completed this, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're doing two things at once.
The fact
Look
is,
at Carson Wentz on his return.
The Oakland Raiders do not suck.
Watch his play.
I'm
Watch
turning
his
off
play.
the TV because whatever. Can you just focus on the dang live stream?
I can. That's all right. I'm focusing on the live stream.
All right. I'll do the live stream then. You can just watch.
We're both
the TV.
doing.
So
we're doing a
I
watch
think
party.
I think that the Oakland Raiders. I think that the Oakland Raiders are close to being really good, and I think the Oakland Raiders are going to get their first win next week over the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders are playing good football. They're just letting up a lot of explosive plays. They're shooting themselves in the foot with dumb throws late in the game. John Gruden, Marshawn Lynch, this team is coming along. They're learning how to be a football team, and the Oakland Raiders, you know what the record of their combined opponents is? 8-1. The Dolphins are undefeated. The Broncos at the Broncos, they lost by a point. They were 2-1, and the Rams. So the bottom line is for the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders are going to get this ship settled in, and I believe Oakland is on the uptick because they played really well again today. The problem with John Gruden teams is that they take so damn long. I'm sorry to go on a tangent here, but they play so slowly that each drive has to be executed perfectly, Bruce, because they play so slowly that each drive they snap the ball with 2 seconds left, so there's only like 8 possessions in the game, and when Derek Carr throws an interception, that's like killing the game. So they don't play with any tempo at all. So you have no room for error if you're going to hold the ball the whole game. Does that make sense to you, Bruce? Because if they would go faster, they'd get more cracks at the apple. But they play so slowly that they run the clock out on themselves every game.
It makes me
pissed off.
You're making the argument that I make. The Oakland Raiders team isn't that good. They're not a playoff team.
No.
I think they're poor.
They're good. They just need to play faster.
Well, we're allowed to have a disagreement.
John Gruden, this team was right there at the end of the game. They're a good football team. They're competing. They're like the Lions. They're going to kick it in the gear. You don't think the Raiders are any good?
This is what I'm going to tell you. When it comes down to cold weather, when the Raiders have to come east, when they have to go north, they are going to have Derek Carr. And Derek Carr doesn't do well in cold weather. He doesn't do well in inclement weather. His arm, he's ideal in these kind of games in the early fall.
Right.
Ideal in Oakland in good weather. So I don't believe in Derek Carr. He's a great interview. He's a nice guy. I just don't believe it. I also believe that Khalil Mack has more sacks at this stage after 3 games than the whole Oakland Raider team. So one guy who they got rid of for salary reasons is playing like a defensive MVP. So that is the story.
Bottom line is the Bears have played the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals, and the Bears actually have players there, so Khalil Mack is not getting single teamed. When you have Eddie Goldman and Akeem Hicks, the Raiders have nobody. So Khalil Mack would have been double teamed. He would have been playing terrible football. So the point is that Khalil Mack's had easy opponents, and the Bears actually have a great supporting cast that makes his job a lot easier. The Raiders are going to get 4 picks in the top 2 rounds of next couple drafts. Colton Miller's a big hit. John Gruden knows what he's doing. You guys can all insult Chucky right now, but he will be the last one laughing. Do you think next week, Bruce, that the Buffalo Bills can defeat the Green Bay Packers and keep a incredible run going? Or do you think that this was a once-in-a-generation type of football game for the Buffalo Bills?
I believe that the Green Bay Packers are a resilient team. As long as Aaron Rodgers continues to improve, and his health wasn't perfect, even though he's playing, he still got some gimp in that knee. I believe that at home in Green Bay, certainly they will watch the tape. They have to protect, the big story was the pass rush, the sacks, the strip sacks against Case Keenum. I'm not Case Keenum.
Cousins.
Against Kirk Cousins, excuse me. Understandably, I flipped back to last year for the Vikings. The fact is that the Packers will find a way to hold off the pass rush of the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, McCoy is in and out, problems swirling around him as always. I believe that the Packers will come back with a statement win, and the Bills will lose again. I don't think you can expect the Bills to beat Minnesota, stay out there in the Midwest, the Pacific Northwest, whatever you want to call it.
It's the Midwest.
The Midwest, the Northern Midwest. We'll call it the North Midwest. And we'll say that I'm not predicting the Bills beating the Packers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, conventional wisdom, whatever that word is.
Conventional.
Contemptual. Yeah.
Conventional wisdom.
Yeah. It's a tough word to say.
Yep.
Maybe
Especially
not.
it's late. We've been watching a lot of football.
Yeah, footballed out, of course. But,
Yep.
The fact is that the Bills going to Green Bay, you're right. I don't think that I don't know if they're going to win. They're probably going to play a bad game offensively, and Josh Allen's going to look like a rookie again. And that offensive line still was holding all over the Minnesota field today. But I think Kirk Cousins is still the right guy. I'm going to talk about a game that I watched today. The Kansas City Chiefs are for real. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the league. That was one of the predictions I got right. One of the predictions I got wrong was I picked the Rams to tank this year. Now, I could use the excuse of Garoppolo being injured, but the fact is they're still a good football team. Their strength of schedule hasn't exactly been so difficult thus far, but the LA Rams are playing really good football, and they're probably going to win that division going away. So I was wrong about the LA Rams, but I was right about Mahomes. I picked Kansas City before the year to be in the Super Bowl. I picked today's game, 49ers and Chiefs, to be the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, it looks like the San Francisco defense is terrible, but it also looks like Patrick Mahomes is incredibly good. Travis Kelce is one of the top 5 players in the NFL right now. Richard Sherman blanketed Tyreek Hill, but you have Chris Conley, you have all these weapons. Andy Reid's the coach of the year so far, and it looks like Mahomes is going to be the MVP of the NFL, and it's an amazing, amazing performance. Pretty much his rookie season, he's Ben Simmoning the NFL thus far.
There's a question, and this weeks ago would have sounded like a ludicrous question. Is there any chance that Colin Kaepernick returns to the San Francisco 49ers? And I think you answer your answer and I'll answer mine. What do you think about that?
Are you going to go first?
I'll go first. I think there is a chance. I'd say 25% chance. Why? Because the profile the 49ers need, they need a mobile quarterback. They don't need Nick Foles. They need somebody who can make those quick passes, who's mobile in the pocket. And if you think about it, on one hand, the argument against Kaepernick coming back, well, he's suing the GD League. He's suing the NFL. So imagine an owner, when you have a player who's actually suing the league for collusion, the best thing to do is continue colluding, is not bring this vulture in. But on the other hand, San Francisco, liberal place, inclusive place, they want to win. If they bring it in, ironically, it's an argument against collusion. Maybe it helps the lawsuit for the NFL. It just had to be the right opportunity. And this, I would argue, is the right opportunity. Desperate times call for desperate measures. San Francisco is all set up to win, but for the championship quarterback. And if I had to go down the list, Nick Foles, too slow. RG3, totally unproven. And Bridgewater, one hit away from a career-ending knee injury. So there's not a lot of really good choices out there.
Both guys, RG3 and Ted.
Yes, both of them. Not a lot of great choices. And yes, to bring in Kaepernick, I would try him out. I'd probably put him through like a 2-day interview, make sure his head is not up in his keister somewhere. But so the answer is bizarre. As bizarre as it sounds,
yeah,
I would at least bring him in.
We're talking about Colin.
I'd take a look at it.
We're talking about Kaepernick.
What's your thought?
3 weeks into the season, we're talking about Colin Kaepernick, and whenever you talk about Kaepernick, you risk alienating a large segment of people. So if you're Jed York,
we're in that segment. I've been an anti-Kaepernick guy.
You've been an anti-Kaepernick guy.
I haven't loved what he's done. I haven't loved him wearing socks that has pigs on it, saying the police are pigs. Do I like the fact that he's got a shirt with the dictator Fidel Castro? Of course not. How can anybody like that? I'm just talking from a pure football standpoint. I would consider it.
Well, the thing about Kaepernick is that he has donated some money. Police brutality sucks. It sucks when people get murdered when they don't deserve to die.
Nobody's arguing
So,
for
Kaepernick,
cancer. Nobody's arguing for cancer, death, or police brutality. There's nobody who's in that lobby.
His head is in the right place. The cops is pigs. Like, I disagree. I think that, like, saying all of something is bad is bad. You know, saying, like, all police officers are evil. And again, I don't want to be talking about this on the show. You brought it up because
I'm talking about football.
I'm talking about football. Well, you said the Kaepernick stuff.
Well, of course. I kind of alluded to it.
You said you're an anti-Kaepernick guy.
Well, I'm saying
off the field.
I generally
so
don't.
You did bring it up when I don't want to bring it up.
I did. Okay, that's fine. Well, we don't have to dwell on it.
Well, yeah.
Want to wrap it up?
No, this is the thing I'll say about Kaepernick is that I think that Colin, you know, first of all, I have more of a liberal stance than you do about Colin and what he's trying to do. But what I'm going to say about Colin Kaepernick is that I think it would be a decent idea for the tryout. Now, Blaine Gabbert was better than Kaepernick when Kaepernick came in. And I think that Bridgewater and Griffin would maybe be better options. And then you're going to alienate your entire fan base. You're going to create all this controversy. Now, I don't believe somebody has to.
You're saying they're going to alienate San Francisco? Not at all.
There's
liberal town.
Conservative football fans that live in California.
Conservative in California is an oxymoron. Yes, you know what? You know where conservative people are? Ironically, towards Santa Barbara. That's Silicon Valley. That's where the money is. That's where the conservatives are.
They're not conservative either. They're as liberal as they come. They're as left as they come. But, you know, the people in the Silicon Valley, I mean, they're all vegans out there. But the fact is that I look at Kaepernick, and Kaepernick has a chance to be with the 49ers. I mean, he doesn't read defenses that well. He is faster. This guy hasn't played football in a while. He might only weigh 100 pounds. I don't know if this guy's worked out in 2 years. And I don't know if Kaepernick has the desire to play football because the Canadians would probably let him play like Johnny Football. But the fact is, I look at Webb, I look at Bridgewater and Griffin, and I know that they're going to go after Griffin because Kyle Shanahan loves Griffin. So, I mean, the great thing about, like, bringing this topic up is that some people are going to hate this topic. Some people are going to love this topic. I know people that are it's such a polarizing hot oil topic that I'm glad it's tucked into a live stream where it's like 30 minutes deep into a live stream because I would never really want to do a video on the Colin Kaepernick. But in terms of him on the field, I think that there's a chance that he could get signed. I do. So and if I was San Francisco, Jed York, I would entertain the idea because let's just see the guy play football. There's other dudes that do exactly what Kaepernick does. A lot of defensive linemen are like Kaepernick. He's a quarterback. He's a face of a franchise, and that's going to get talked about a lot. But let's move on. Let's move on to another topic.
So let's look at next week. What's the most intriguing game next week for you?
The most intriguing game to me, I think that Raiders-Browns is a great game with Baker Mayfield playing John Gruden. I think that Bills-Packers is a hell of a game. I think that you look at the New York Giants playing the New Orleans Saints, and that game, the Saints have no defense. They're resorting back into their old selves, which is sucking on the defensive side of the football. Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley threw for 700 yards. Calvin Ridley was amazing today in the football game. He had 3 touchdowns today as a rookie, so he's looking a lot better than DJ Moore is looking for the Carolina Panthers. And Calvin Ridley's looking like a candidate for the Offensive Rookie Player of the Year. So that Saints-Giants game next week, it's going to be for the damn season. That's going to be an amazing football game.
Little station ID. We are Rover Sports. I'm Bruce the Sports Doc here with Spencer G. You'll see us on Facebook, Periscope, Facebook Live. If you're here anywhere in the tri-state area, that's Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware. Wednesday nights from 7 to 9. You'll catch us with football stories. You'll also catch us with Rover Sports. We're with Coach Josh Dace, college basketball coach, Dr. Stephen Lewis, another sports expert. And we are on 610 AM, the original home of football here. Now football's moved to the FM, but if you're a traditionalist like I am, stay with 610 AM. Rover Sports, or if you like, you can certainly Facebook me, Bruce Grossinger, on my Facebook page. You get all of our videos, plus you get a chance for some very cool free merchandise. And we have signed apparel through all over the league, because we have fans in every single town. So in any event, that's who we are. We have tremendous viewership. We've had 60 or more people in the live stream
It's been
since
incredible.
we started.
You guys are such a good group of people. I love that you guys are here, and I'm not taking it for granted. It's been a really special ride, and I've really appreciated everything that these people have given to my life and the channel, and it's a great joy for me because a lot of times throughout the week it can be melancholy, but you guys have made it such a special place, and I'm very indebted to everybody that's given up their time to join our show, and I really appreciate everything that you guys have done from a personal standpoint. Not to get too deep, of course.
To amplify
Not
that,
to get too deep.
To amplify that, I'd like people to subscribe to Rober Sports. It's free. As I said, you get a chance for some merchandise. Occasionally, we give out tickets. We give out some. There's really like rubber footballs signed by
Me.
signed by Spencer. The value is going up, and in any event, I hope you guys enjoy it.
I'll
We had some
sign
great.
a live Jimmy Garoppolo bobblehead doll signed with my inscription on it. And I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of people before we end this live stream, and then I'm going to go to a studio and I'm going to do very team specific videos that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. I want to give first, I want to give my prayers to a really dear friend on YouTube. His name is Catfish Volunteer Roadshow. He is a Tennessee Vols video maker. He drives a truck for a living. He got into a car accident on the side of a road. A car ran into him. Another truck ran into his truck. He is luckily doing better now, so I needed to go ahead and send my regards to Catfish. He is a wonderful person, and our prayers, God has answered our prayers, and he is doing a lot better, so we're just continuing to pray with him through this time. I also want to give a shout out to Jet Central, my good buddy, and a lot of other YouTubers, Entertainer, a lot of guys that I've met for YouTube.
Cop Pizzle, certainly a shout out to Cop Pizzle.
Sure.
The other friend in New York, who's the other guy? Is really good. You did a live stream. New York Giants guy, smart, funny, heavy accent. Heavy New York
Bad
guy.
Dog?
Bad Dog.
Bad Dog, the Sports
Bad
Fury.
Dog.
And how about my friend UCF Jaguar Dalton? They're 2-1 right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said the Jaguars would go 4-12, and today's prediction helped me again.
Certainly. So in any event, they're all good people. Hope you guys all
All
love
good
sports as much as we do.
people.
The weather's only getting colder and worse. That means we got to watch and talk a lot more about football.
We do.
So on behalf of Spencer G, thanks for signing on. And as
lot of
always, good night
And
good
good sports.
sports.
Take care, y'all. End it. End it to the right.